Hello and welcome to the Global Sila Literacy panel with the title, The Importance of Improving Language Skills in a Professional Environment. My name is Valentyna Filimonova. I'm the moderator for this panel, and we are exceptionally fortunate today to have representatives of Indiana University as well as UNAM, Universidad Nacional Autónoma de México, joining us today to discuss the topic of why should universities partner with outside entities such as communities, businesses, NGOs, etc., to maximize opportunities for those with language skills. And how can they, or how are they? I am Valentyna, and I'm a sociolinguist with a dual PhD from Indiana University in Linguistics and Spanish, and also with a graduate certificate in college pedagogy. I have designed and redesigned and taught project-based, problem-based service learning and community engagement courses in Spanish, linguistics, and communication at the undergraduate level at Indiana University, and I have also run the UNAM's Linguistics Labs community service in Mexico. As a graduate student, I have been involved with UNAM in indigenous language documentation and my own dissertation research. And currently, I am founder and coordinator for the IU Mexico Gateways Shut Up and Write community, which is open to all, so just ask. I am fortunate to introduce today the panelists, which we have 5. So I will start with Indiana University panelists that are joining us today. I will start with Teresa Nichols. She is the Grant and Program Manager of the Center for the Study of Global Change at Indiana University. She coordinates the Undergraduate Global Service and Peace Corps Preparation Program and the Indiana Language Roadmap Initiative, among many other projects. She has a PhD and MA in anthropology from Indiana University, and has long-standing research interests in cultural heritage preservation, international exchange, and indigenous rights. So welcome, Teresa. Good to have you with us. I will invite now to join us Dr. Christine Everett. She has been with the Institute for International Business at Indiana University since 2010. And in her time with the Institute, Christine has used her deep background in program development and management to develop and manage a number of new innovative and collaborative programs, which include Business is Global and the Global Business Institute. As Director of Programs, Christine enjoys working with all of IIB's amazing program managers and help them meet the objectives of their programs. Before joining the IIB, Christine held a number of roles in the Kelley School of Business MBA program, including her most recent position serving as the Director of Operations and Diversity. In this role, she was responsible for delivering a series of leadership skill development modules for the first-year MBA students, evaluating the curriculum offerings of the MBA program, and leading the organizational effectiveness efforts for MBA program office. She holds a Bachelor's of Science in Business with a concentration in Business Economics and Public Policy from KSB, and a Master of Science in Education with concentration in Higher Education Administration from IU. Welcome, Christine. Good to have you with us. And also from Indiana University, we have a student representative. Clayton Underhill is a junior from Washington, Indiana, majoring in international law and institutions and Spanish, with a minor in public and environmental affairs and a certificate in underwater resource management. At Indiana University, Clayton is a part of Hutton Honors College and Hudson and Holland Scholar Program. Within the Hamilton Lugar School, Clayton serves as a member of Global Student 7 and a member of Sigma Iota Rho. After graduation, he hopes to participate in Teach for America or the Peace Corps before attending law school. So welcome, Clayton. Good to have you with the Indiana panel. Now I will introduce our UNAM, Universidad Nacional Autónoma de México panelists. We will begin with Dr. Mohammed Farid Chanan Velarde. He's the head of the English department at UNAM's School of Political and Social Sciences. He's professor of English as a foreign language at UNAM School of Political and Social Sciences. He teaches English language and literature at UNAM, at the School of Philosophy and Belles Lettres. He holds a bachelor in English language teaching by the Ministry of Education in Mexico and a postgraduate continued education international training for ELT professionals by Lambton College of Canada. He has also completed various continuous education trainings, such as the Advanced American English Immersion Program in California State University, Long Beach. He is a holder of the Certificate of Proficiency in English by Cambridge University Level C2, Common European Framework of Reference, and a holder of the Bilingual Diploma by the International Baccalaureate Organization presented in by the United World College of India. Welcome, Mr. Mohammed. Good to have you. Bienvenido. And finally, our UNAM's student participant today is Selena Lopez Arce. She is a Mexican student of communication sciences, currently specializing in journalism. She is also a research assistant at the Pan American University in the Department of Communication, where she has published a book about the socio-digital agenda of the political election in Mexico in 2018 as a co-author. Selena is also a diffusion assistant at the Mexican Association of Communication Researchers and creates content for an independent online media. She has taken several courses in the Knight Center for Journalism in the Americas and the Mexican National Electoral Institute. In her free time, she works as an independent podcaster and writes different story genres, and she has won a local writing contest in 2013 for a short story. Good to have you, Selena. Welcome, bienvenida. This is a wonderful panel, and we're excited and fortunate to be collaborating between two universities, Indiana University and UNAM, around the topic of the importance of improving language skills in a professional environment. We will have about 5 minutes per panelist to discuss this topic, and we will have about 10 minutes at the end for Q&A. Everybody who's watching us on any social media, please feel free to use the comment section. We will use your comments throughout this talk to address them at the end. So welcome all the panelists, welcome all of the viewers. Thank you so much for being here. And I will leave the floor to Teresa Nichols to start us off. Thank you.
All right, so let me go ahead and share an image on the screen just so you have another perspective besides our lovely faces. So if our wonderful technical facilitator could also show this image. So the reason I love to start with this image is I think it's a great reminder that even in the heart of the Midwest, we are still very much an international presence. This is a map from the Indiana Economic Development Corporation from early 2019 that shows there are over 1,000 companies scattered throughout the entire state of Indiana, not just the greater Indianapolis area, that rely on foreign direct investment. So these aren't even just the companies that do international trade, importing or exporting. This is just foreign direct investment. And I love this as a visual and a reminder that Indiana is a very multilingual and multicultural state. And so it's really important for universities that we make sure that we're preparing our students to both live and to work in these multilingual and multicultural communities. So I think it's also very beneficial, as we've had in this panel, to talk about ways that it's really important for universities to reach out to businesses, to nonprofit organizations, and to find ways that we can have our students get experiences using their language skills, but also, again, familiarize them for the types of jobs that can use these types of global competencies. So some quick facts about Indiana for those who aren't as familiar, since this is a global CRED event. Indiana has more than 275 languages that are spoken throughout our state, and over 8% of Hoosiers speak a language other than English at home. So whether a graduate, from IU goes on to a career in healthcare, like the panel before us, or goes into a job in a variety of different businesses, it's likely that they either might encounter an international marketplace, or they could be serving a multilingual community here in the States. So I wanted to just share really briefly and then get to the other wonderful panelists, some of the work that I've been doing with colleagues on IU's Indiana Language Roadmap Initiative, which was originally started based on a grant that we got from the Department of Defense. And so what we did was we created a strategic statewide plan to think about how we could strengthen world language learning and also strengthen Indiana's global ties. And so this was a really collaborative process over 2 years. We had input from businesses, healthcare, NGOs, educators, and representatives from local and state government. And since creating that plan, we started offering small grants for community projects, again, among those various different sectors and in different parts of the state, to kind of encourage communities to raise awareness of the different efforts they're doing, but also to give them some needed financial support and to give them a little bit more recognition in their community that they're doing something that is a statewide priority, that we do value this multilingual, multicultural efforts. Another thing universities are really great at doing is kind of creating spaces to raise awareness of different resources and compile and connect people. So I know Christine at Cyber will talk more about that as well. But it's been really beneficial to kind of use our status as, a statewide university to think about what are the different resources we can leverage from our faculty, from our students, to some of the financial grants we have to support communities and what they're doing. Another example that I wanted to just briefly highlight is, for example, as part of this project, because I've gotten to speak to so many people outside of the university, I was reached out to by the Indiana Commission of Higher Education, which is a state government agency, and they were really interested in raising awareness of the financial aid scholarships that they offer for underrepresented students who go to college, but they really wanted to intensify some of the efforts that outreach efforts they were making to people that speak heritage languages, so refugee, immigrant families, people that, they could certainly have the English resources, but it would be really meaningful for them to have that in their heritage language. So we were able to connect them with wonderful IU faculty and language students in Arabic, Korean, Kinyarwanda, and Swahili, and they were able to do that as a class project this semester. So this has been a really interesting time doing virtual work, but it was really great for them to do this kind of project-based learning, something that's going to have a tangible benefit in communities around the state, and to encourage more students to know that they can go to college and have that financial support. One consideration, as I've experienced working from a university and trying to work more with businesses and with NGOs, is just being really mindful of the different time frames and constraints that we're all on. I think especially businesses, they have so much potential to really pivot and turn and respond to demands, whereas universities were based in this infrastructure that there's certain ways that we do things, and sometimes it takes us longer than our business partners would like. It's also it's been incredibly valuable and rewarding to be in more communication with people in different sectors, to understand what their needs are, and also, again, to just have that space to connect people. So, for example, we have a really great Luna Languages Services interpretation translation company that in the past couple months, because of the pandemic, they've done a lot of virtual free trainings online. So kind of signal boosting that, encouraging students who are interested in language to think about, there's so many different companies that are incorporating language into their diversity, equity, and inclusion programs, into their language access plans. So to kind of think about the very broad variety of careers that could be out there and how their language could be beneficial. So those are just a couple quick examples, and I'll yield the floor to some of my other colleagues to share their perspectives. Thank you.
How about the perspective by Christine Everett? Would you like to share with us?
Sure, I'm happy to. So as was mentioned, I am with the business school. And I am with the Institute for International Business, and we have a kind of a two-pronged, more external-facing role here at the university. And so we work a lot with various grants given by the State Department or different aid granting entities. We also work a lot on a grant here through the Department of Education, which Teresa mentioned, the Center for International Business Education and Research, or CyBER. And I like to joke that we were a cyber before cyber was ever even a thing, with obviously IT and technology. The main purpose of CyBER is to help promote and increase U.S. global competitiveness in the international marketplace. And so as it pertains to today's discussion, the really fun thing that we're able to do is help connect students to businesses. And we primarily try to connect them to small businesses who don't have as many resources as multinational corporations. Indiana, we have a lot of small businesses. And what we're able to do is leverage our funding from the Department of Education to help small businesses hire students to help them internationalize, and that can be done in a variety of ways. Sometimes a company will have an idea, maybe they've been approached to send something overseas and they want a student to help them learn more. Other times they want students who have the language skills to help develop packaging, help develop manuals, help translate all of the materials that they have in order to go to market. So it's a wide variety of things. The fun thing here at Indiana is that we do have so many students that have language expertise, whether that be they grew up with it and they're heritage speakers, or they started learning in school. A lot of students at Kelly do study abroad. And so when they come back, it's great to be able to set them up with companies so they're able to continue to use their language skills. 90% of the world's consumers live outside of the US. And so, for students who have language skills, it gives them a leg up in, obviously working with companies as they start to begin their job search. And I think that's really, it in a nutshell. The business piece makes it really easy. We're constantly connecting students with companies. Obviously, the big thing is always they're looking for, internships or full-time jobs, but a lot of times companies, they like to have students help them, whether it be on an internship or even sometimes on a class project. We're fortunate we have a number of faculty who are also multilingual, and so being able to put together a group of, a faculty member with a group of students and have them work on a problem for a company is a win-win. And I think that's pretty much it. It's pretty straightforward.
Thank you very much, Christine. This is very valuable. I would like to bring in Clayton as a student perspective from Indiana University with several majors and minors, which is actually becoming more and more common in the United States to not just major in one thing. So maybe if you would like to share your experience with us, Clayton, go ahead.
I'd be happy to share my experience with you all. So I am a student in the Hamilton Luger School of Global and International Studies, and my engaged learning opportunity has been realized through my Spanish major. I have had the opportunity to help teach the fundamentals of Spanish to elementary school classes on a weekly basis here at one of the local elementary schools, and that's really been an amazing experience to be able to actually connect what I learn in class to my community, and it's given me a sense of responsibility, and it's really nice to get out of the books and see your major take force and see it take force in the kids that you're teaching. And I know my major, Spanish, we do that in some of the schools, but there are also programs at IU such as Arabic Flagship, and they are teaching multiple languages to these students. And I have to say I'm somewhat jealous because I never had that opportunity in school. But that's just another one of the driving factors is I would love to have all these elementary school children be able to speak Spanish, Arabic, to be at least bilingual, because it's really just the most critical time in their lives to learn a language and have that opportunity, and to be able to connect that to my major while I'm at IU, it's a very fulfilling thing. And I'd love to talk more about any of the benefits and of this program, such as the ability to network with Spanish speakers in the community, to utilize my Spanish outside of class, and just have a good feeling of contributing back to the community. And that's all because of this engaged learning emphasis that some of my teachers here at IU have given me. So thank you.
Thank you, Clayton. This is excellent. We would like to invite Professor Mohamed to speak to us about his experience and perspective from within Mexico. So he's a professor at UNAM, as has been previously introduced. So please share your experience with us.
Yeah, hello everyone. Thanks for the invitation. And yeah, I'm very glad to hear of your experiences with the students and how you can look for ways how they can connect with the professional environment. I'm going to talk about my experience as a professor at State University, which is it's amazing, but it has its limitations. So we have a bunch of students who are lacking in their knowledge of a second language. In this case, everybody's trying to learn English at the university. Most of them first language is Spanish, right? And the reality is that, well, we have just 4 terms. They have 4 terms during their degree where they can study English. We can offer only 4 levels that go from the initial to the intermediate levels. So when they graduate or when they finish their studies, they find themselves as lacking in their English confidence or their language skills. And all these internships or potential jobs are taken from the graduates of the private universities, where they have very good English classes and they learned they learned throughout their degree, the 8 terms or the 9 semesters of their degrees, and they were taught their core subjects in English, right? So when they graduate, they have a considerable, there is a considerable difference when we compare them with the students from our university. So I think that the big challenge for us is to try to expand on the number of core subjects from their curricula that can be taught in English, at least some of them, maybe not all of them, but some. And the other big challenge is the professional training, right, for all the professors that can be carried out through CPD or a continuous professional development, right, where we can train some of the professors from the different degrees in order to teach their subjects in English, right? And the other thing is the certification. We need to promote more students to be certified because that can motivate them and that can foster more interest in developing their skills, so that when they finally come out, they have true opportunities and they are truly competitive in the professional or in the jobs market, right? And that's it for me.
Thank you very much, Professor Mohammed. And I would like to hear now the perspective of Selena as a student from UNAM, a journalism student. And we have already heard that she has done several things within and outside of the university. Would you tell us a little bit about this experience, Selena?
Yeah, sure. First of all, thank you very much for letting me be here. Just like Teacher Mohammed just said, there is a lack of English, especially in Mexico, and it's not only about English, it's about all of languages. We learn English as a second language, in my case, since I was a kid, but because I went to a private school. When you go to a public school, most of the time, language, especially English, is an optional. So you don't have the obligation to start learning, or even if you want to learn French or, I don't know, Korean, any other language, it is a very difficult thing to make do, not only because we don't have a lot of experience in this field, but also because it is so difficult. They put it as like, it's so difficult to do that we lost inspiration to do it. In my case, like I said, I've studied it since I was a kid, and I am very grateful for it. And I think it has opened many doors to me, like we were just talking about, of course, working and research in the first place. In the school, that university I am going, it's National Autonomous University of Mexico, we are doing research because it's political sciences, social sciences. And when you know a different language, it opens you many doors, because if you don't find, like, I don't know, some concept or some study that it hasn't been done in Mexico, you can search it, like, I don't know, maybe in the United States, maybe in France, and it opens you many doors in case that you can actually know what is going on in the world. But it doesn't stay just in school. When we are, like, in the real world, for example, in the case of Mexico, we have a very close relationship with the United States. And we are very interested in, for example, now what is happening with Donald Trump and Joe Biden. And most of Mexicans couldn't understand what was happening between this election, because they didn't know enough English. And also there is, I would say, a lack in the learning of English, because we are looking at this and we teach, we learn the most basic of English, but we don't make an exam to prove it. I know a lot of people that they say, I know English, but when they sit and, for example, watch a conference like this or watch a TV series, they are talking too fast because we are so used to people talking like slow for us to learn. And this is like the same for many languages. I think it is very important for us to learn English or to learn any language, especially in Mexico, in the first place because, like we have said before, it opens a lot of doors. But also, we open to a different world. We learn about different cultures. That is so important, especially with a world that is practically erasing all of the limits that we have because of social media. We can learn a lot about cultures, a lot of studies that have been put now in the world because we know, for example, French. We can have a lot of job opportunities, or if we like to be independent, we have a lot of opportunity to have our project have a lot more reach than if we are only staying in Mexico, for example. I think it is very important because when we make connections, we don't stay in Mexico. We go all around the world. Doesn't matter what language we speak. And just for ending this, I would like to talk also about being shy or being like making yourself little than you are, especially because we have a lot of stereotypes in Mexico, not only for United States but for a lot of parts of the world. So when we learn a different language, like especially English, because it's like a very necessary language, we are practically raised bilingual. We believe that we can go out of the world. We don't hide ourselves in this Mexico that, of course, we are not perfect, and we would like to make it better, especially new generations like me, like young people, would like to change not only Mexico, but we like to change the world. It is very known as how our generation wants to change the world. It's in studies. So we can do that if we are just closed up in our language, not only because to be able, for example, participate in politics or in some social sciences, but because we can hear what other people believe, what other people need. This is also applies for native languages in Mexico that are so ignored right now. I think it has been like 2 weeks since they recognize them as national languages, and that is not good because they are our past, they are our prehistory, and we need to pay attention to that because if not, they're going to disappear. I mean, of course English is not the same case, but if we can communicate with our own people, with our own country, we can do a lot of that. So just like teacher Mohammed just said, it is optional, at least in college, to take English or to take another language because we lack of it, because we believe that is not important, but it actually is. I think it is very important for us to learn another language, whatever you like. It's not English to English and that's it. But I think it would be very useful for us to understand not only that English or any language opens you doors, but that also can open you to a different state of mind, to hear other people, to another culture, and most of all, to be updated. Because as we are moving, the world and social media is moving with us. That would be my opinion.
Thank you, Selena. This is very valuable. Now that we have heard from all of the panelists, I'm just going to add a little bit of my own perspective because I have seen Indiana University and UNAM. And I think just one little thing that has impacted me positively a lot about UNAM that has a lot of potential in this area is community service. And this is something that I have not seen being required at American universities. And here, students of all majors are required to complete 480 hours of community service in order to graduate. So this is a huge potential for students to get some hands-on experience. I have not actually seen many opportunities that are bilingual, that require language skills, such as English language skills, as Professor Mohamed was also commenting. However, I have seen opportunities for people who are studying indigenous languages, which is amazing. So speaking of biliteracy rate, we're not only talking about these major global languages, but also minority, marginalized languages that are ethnic languages and ethnic heritage of the for our respective countries and communities. So thank you everyone for such wonderful perspectives. If there is anything you would like to ask each other right now before going into questions and comments from our public, I think this is a wonderful opportunity to network for another 5 minutes or so. It could be either students reaching out to the professors who are offering all of these wonderful opportunities for advice or anything, or it could be, you know, among the various departments that are presented here. If you would like to learn something from your colleague, what would that be?
I would like to say something, which actually Clayton gave me the idea that you mentioned that you are practicing your Spanish skills teaching in elementary school. Is that right?
Yes, yes.
Which just gives me a wonderful idea that we have like very few students, just like Selena and other students in the School of Social Sciences, who already speak very good English, as we can see, and that could give, could do some of their community service as helping other students, their peers, in improving their language skills. No, that would be an interesting thing, an interesting thought that just Clayton's experience gave me. No.
Yeah, that would be an amazing idea. I think you guys could most definitely do that. And Selena, I'd like to know what kind of community service do you have to do? I mean, 480 hours, that's quite a bit. So what do students typically do?
Well, we have a little help of university, of course. They gave us a list of, I don't know, many other universities or maybe some entertainment industries. It depends a lot on your grade and your career. But what we do is like for 6 months or so, we have a part-time job. It's basically a part-time job, but without the pay, because what they are paying us is with the credits for us to complete this service. We can get graduated if we don't do this. It is kind of like we can do practices, we can learn a lot, but also, as we said, it is made as community service because it is our way to start helping the community, the world, Mexico in this case. In my case, I haven't taken it yet because we take it in the last grade, in 4th grade, and I am 3rd. But what if we don't like, for example, all of the industries that the university is offering us, we can search for our own. For example, I want to make it at the ONU, at the WHO, I think it is in English, and I can do it because one thing that Mexico is very good at is that National Autonomous University of Mexico has a very good standard, and if you say like, hey, I am from here, I want to do this, they say done. But because you need to do these hours, you need to do this, you need to do that. And I think a lot of things that help is that if you are studying, for example, in my case, journalism, they put you in the journalism department. If you're studying finances, you go to the finance department. So we learn a lot of things. We earn job experience, and we are completing our hours so we can get graduated too. It is very common for students to stay working in the same place they did their community service after they got graduated, because people like a lot how we work. I think that answers your question.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, no, it's interesting, you know, Mohammed and also Clayton and Selena sharing your perspectives of some of the things you've done outside of class as experiential learning. You know, we have a global service and Peace Corps preparation program at IU, and so we require that students do a service learning class and that they do an internship. And it would always be wonderful if there's a language component, but it can be difficult for us to find opportunities where if you're a Spanish major, where like it's an internship or it's a service opportunity that explicitly has a Spanish language requirement for you to do that kind of service work. I know our colleagues at the IU Southeast campus, their Department of Modern Languages, one of the ways that their seniors can kind of do like a capstone project is they can volunteer at different organizations, usually those benefiting refugees or immigrants, and so they could use their language as part of that internship to work with a nonprofit organization. But I think, unfortunately, you know, those placements can be a little bit difficult to find. And so it's not a huge number of students that do that, but it is such a really beneficial opportunity for them because they get to practice their language, they get to better understand their community, and they get to give back to a nonprofit organization.
Excellent. And I don't know if Christine has any comments or questions to the panel first, or anybody interested in anything business related that could be addressed to Christine. Take a minute or a couple to talk about that now, and then we'll move into other questions and comments by the viewers.
I have a question for Christine that I could also just email you about, but I'll do it here where there's a lot more people. So since we work a lot with K-12 schools, we always get questions about, K-12 schools don't have a lot of money. And so they're always interested in businesses, both because they want their students to think about job outcomes. They want students to think about how they could use a language in a job, but also to see if businesses might be willing to fund certain initiatives, like things that would support their language students. And their biggest question is always, how do I reach out to a business? How do I know how to talk to? How do I know if they care that I'm trying to work with language students, that I'm trying to encourage them to lose Spanish or to learn Spanish or Korean or Arabic?
I think that's a great question, and probably some people that work at the business school won't like my answer, because I say you should, just reach out, because if you don't ask, they can't say no. Now, obviously, doing some research in advance and trying to figure out, okay, would this company maybe be interested? And obviously, if it's something with Japanese, and you approach a company, with so many foreign companies in the state, so if you were to approach a company that maybe is originally from Japan, they're probably going to be more, interested in providing some funding, as opposed to if you approach a company that has nothing to do with, that particular language or culture or world region. But, I think right now it's a hard time to be asking, but everyone's still asking companies for donations. And I think companies, they like to give to schools. I think they like to see that they're helping young kids and students progress. And so I just say, do a little bit of research and go for it. Now, I know the university has a very, very extensive development system. And if they heard me say that, they would not be very happy. So I have to follow all the rules. But obviously, a public school teacher throughout the state of Indiana, they don't have to follow IU's rules. They might have to follow their own rules. But you don't ask, they can't say no.
Well, that is an important piece of wisdom. Thank you so much. And thank you all of the panelists. This has been incredible. We have received a lot of great feedback in our comments here. A lot of it is just great job, great ideas. Wonderful to meet you and hear about all of this. And we do have a couple of questions. So Linda Ignatz is really interested in learning more about how universities have created these partnerships with businesses that want to internationalize. And I imagine that this would be either a question for Christine or Teresa. Either of the two of you might want to answer that question, perhaps.
Do you want me to start, Teresa? We have taken, it's been a kind of a long-term approach. When we started with the funding, we thought, oh, companies are going to be so excited, and we'll be basically, we'll have so many companies, we won't have enough money. That has not been the case. We've really had to advertise and really just go out and meet companies. We've developed a really extensive network here in the state with the Indiana Economic Development Corporation and the Small Business Administration, and they have branches throughout the entire state with advisors, and getting to them so that they're aware of the resources that we have available so that they can share the information. And then we've also really just, it was kind of dumb luck where we put together a lot of lists and do a lot of Google searching on different small businesses within the state. And sometimes the emails, we get nothing. There are no responses except take me off your list. And then other times it's, oh my gosh, this is an amazing opportunity. I want to hire an intern. And so, it's a combination of, is the company ready? and then is the timing right? And sometimes we will reach out and they'll say, yes, I want to do that, but I'm not ready right now. And unfortunately, we've heard a lot of that the past 9 months, where a number of companies were really hoping to start looking into foreign markets, but then with everything going on, they just needed to focus on keeping the business running. And it's easy to say, well, 96% of the world market is outside, but you still have to make sure that you can keep your doors open and pay the employees that you have before you can, add the additional things that go along with exporting. So, it's a lot of just, you have to be super, what's the best word? I mean, we've been persistent.
Yeah, I know Christine and her colleagues also spend a lot of time trying to kind of go where businesses are and hearing their concerns and getting a sense of where they're active, because you can't really raise awareness of opportunities unless you know where people are looking. Somebody pointed out that they loved the IADC map that I showed, and I think Indiana, compared to some states, is really great about trying to highlight its international connections. They have a whole section of the IADC website that talks about international. But I think, not every state, unfortunately, does have that. And it takes, a lot of time and effort to encourage businesses to think about also sometimes native English speakers as part of that international part. I've gone to a couple panels where they talk about how language competency and proficiency is so important, but they don't always expect that from some of their American workforce. And so it's kind of a two-part thing where we want to make sure that students see different ways that they can value those competencies and how that can work in the workforce, but also talking with companies too, like, hey, if you have this demand, you don't always have to have, a native Japanese speaker. Sometimes what you really need for a variety of positions in your organization is somebody that has some Japanese language background, but also some cultural flexibility, some cultural knowledge, and some global competencies that would also be really beneficial in a lot of different parts of your workforce, not just, having an official interpreter translator. There are a lot of different roles within your organization that benefit from that. I want to make a shout out to the Hawaiian Language Roadmap Initiative, where they've done a really great job working with their State Department of Labor to make it more clear when there are job openings if there is a language competency that's required. Because I think another issue we see sometimes is when we have students that go out in the workforce that have a language competency, it can be difficult for them to see what are jobs that exist where this is going to be valued, this is going to be beneficial. And so I think that's something that a lot of states, including Indiana, could do a better job of highlighting those types of jobs and making sure that recent graduates and heritage speakers can find them.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Christina and Teresa. We have about 2 minutes, and there is a question for Mohamed from Linda. She says, how can programs like the Global Seal of Biliteracy provide services and promotion of our language credentials to support your students to improve their language skills? And also, how might the Global Seal provide professional development to your professors that can support them? So feel free to think a little bit about this and maybe speak for a minute or two to these questions if you have an idea off the top of your head, or maybe we could just look for Linda afterwards.
I'm sorry, I had some connection problems. I didn't hear very well the question.
Yes, it's actually in the comments section right next to the private chat section. So she says, how can programs like the Global Seal of Biliteracy provide services and promotion of our language credentials to support your students to improve their language skills? And also, how might the Global Seal provide professional development to the professors that can support them?
I really don't have an answer to that, but it would be great that we could have some help for training for our professors. Absolutely, but we haven't worked with the seal so far, but it would be great. Yeah.
Wonderful. I think this is a wonderful networking opportunity here with the bilingual seal. And so we will look for you, Linda. Thank you so much. I believe that most of the other comments were just way to go. Keep up the great work. And everything was excellent. And wonderful wishes to Selena and Clayton. Lucy De Leo says, as a high school world language teacher of Spanish, French, and Italian in New Jersey, Clayton and Selena, it is impressive what you are doing. Keep up the good work. So thank you all for your participation. Thank you for our viewers. We will have to unfortunately wrap this up. We would like to keep talking about this, but let's just stay in touch, and feel free to comment on the videos on the social media. I'm sure we will be checking them out and answering any unanswered questions still. So thank you to our wonderful panelists. Thank you to Indiana University and to UNAM for joining the efforts. This has been great, and all the best to all your efforts.